Welcome back to the channel, guys. I'm going to answer today a very specific question that some of you guys have been asking me, and that is, where are all my finches at? And now that's a normal question to ask because over the last couple of years, the content on this channel has revolved around finches. I started this channel in January of 2020, and since then, every single video has been about finches in the outdoor aviary, finches in the bird room, breeding finches, finch this, finch that, finch, 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 finch. But now we've had some new changes, and that is the majority of the videos have been topics on the farm animals, the new farm, the parrot enclosures, the buildings that I'm making for these parrots, the cages that I'm building for these parrots, and so on. But some of you guys have been asking me, where are the finches now? Especially since you look at this room, and this room used to be filled with finches. I mean, at one point or another, during the breeding season, this room right here could hold up to 700 finches. But now, there are no finches in here. So what's going on? Where are they at now?
These birds are all placed inside of the outdoor aviary. See, I have two locations. I have the outdoor aviary and I have the bird room. My finch breeding season starts around September and ends in April. From September to April, they're inside of the bird room breeding. Then April comes around and they're all placed inside of this outdoor aviary where they get to exercise and have fun for the remainder of the year, socializing with all of the other birds. And I've done this for as long as I can remember. Every single year, once the finch breeding season ends, I grab the birds, place them into the outdoor aviary, and this gives me a chance to start working on the bird room. I get a chance to clean it, pressure wash all the cages, take it apart, disinfect everything, and get it ready for the following season that starts again around September, October. But this year was a little bit different. One, I ended up cutting my breeding season short, and two, I knew that I was going to downsize with the amount of birds that I had. The next step was to downsize on the cages. So I ended up taking away the center row, which held about 120 cages. This in return made the room look bigger. So I pulled out all the remaining cages, pressure washed everything, cleaned everything out, put it back together in the bird room, but I made a couple of changes to some of the cages that I placed in here.
So what I ended up doing was connecting two of the 2-foot long cages to form 4-foot long flights, and that is gonna work perfect for some of those species of finches that require more space. All in all, there's a total of 30 4-foot long flights, and then we have 50 cages that are regular 24 by 16 by 16. These 24 by 16 by 16 are gonna work great for Gouldians, star finches, owl finches. The majority of the Australian species will breed well in those cages. And then we'll go ahead and use these 4-foot long flights for species like the Dybowski twin spots, the Peter twin spots, the greenback twin spots, the red-billed fire finches, red-cheeked cordon blues, and so on. Those African species require a lot more space, and these 4-foot long flights are gonna be great for them. Now that you know what's been going on with the finches and where they've been at and why I haven't been showing them, let's go ahead and let's move on to something different. All right, so we're finally at the farm. It is another beautiful, hot, sunny day here. We got all the animals fed on the property already, and I'm about to start working. I don't know if you guys remember last week or the week before that, we were fixing this enclosure here for the parrots so that they wouldn't get attacked by predators. And we actually had one all the way here at the end that had gotten attacked. We had to remove her and take her home. She's getting better, or he's getting better. I'm not sure if it's the male or the female. So once it does recuperate, we'll be able to bring it back here to the farm. But today what I'm gonna be doing before we do nest inspections and we take a look at how those chicks have been growing is finish this right here. I haven't gotten a chance to finish it. I've been so busy with so many other projects and work that I haven't been back here to get this done. So the door is done. All that we're missing now is just that triangle up top, but I'm not gonna keep recording that. I'll do that a little bit later on. Let's go inside of here and let's check out these chicks to see how they're doing. We gotta go nest by nest now, take a look at every single one of these guys to see how they've been developing, how big they are, and which ones we have to pull out to hand feed.
A few weeks ago, I posted the very first video of the update of these Quaker eggs as they were hatching. And I had a viewer point something out that I had completely missed, and that was that these nests did not have the mesh that go from the entrance hole to the bottom, and that helps or allows the pairs to climb in and out of the nest safely. As you can see, this female is struggling to find her way out of the nest, just because of that. So once these chicks fledge the nest, once all of these pairs are done raising the clutch that they have now, one by one, I'm gonna pull these nests out and I'm gonna attach that mesh. And that is something that I completely overlooked when I first set these pairs up. For some reason, I did not notice that, but that is something that's very important, and it could explain why it is that some of these pairs have been breaking their eggs as they climb in and out of their nest box. Since they don't have this mesh, they end up jumping in or jumping out and breaking the eggs that they do have. All of these chicks seem to be very well fed, so I'm very happy to see that the parents are doing a great job despite the fact that this is their first breeding season. These are all young pairs and I didn't expect much from the very first clutch, so I'm very excited and happy to see them not only give me fertile eggs and sit tight and incubate correctly, but also hatch and feed the chicks the proper way. Now, one of the things that I have noticed with the majority of the pairs that do have chicks is that most of these chicks have a very big gap between the first chick that hatched and the last chick. And this is something that is even more so apparent with the pairs that have 4 or more chicks, because then you can start to notice the difference between the chick that first hatched versus the last one. Now, normally, if the parents are good, this isn't much of an issue. As you can see with some of the pairs that I do have here, the youngest ones have just as enough food on their crop as the oldest one. But for some pairs, this may become a problem, and it actually became a problem with some of my pairs that were immature. What would happen was that some of these pairs where you only see one chick, turns out that when they first hatched, they had 3 or 4, but only the very first one that hatched ended up surviving because the parents just didn't feed the other ones enough. And that causes another dilemma. Usually, if your pair is good, the hen will sit tight on top of the eggs despite the first 2 or 3 chicks hatching, waiting for the rest of them to hatch. But sometimes if the pair is not good enough or if the pair is immature, one of the things that I noticed that happened with some of my pairs was that usually after the second or third chick would hatch, they would abandon the nest. Now, when I say abandon the nest, I don't mean they wouldn't come back to feed. Obviously, they would keep coming back into the nest to feed the youngsters that did hatch, but they would stop incubating the rest of the eggs because they already had 2 or 3 chicks that had hatched out. And what this would do is that, unfortunately, other eggs within the clutch that were fertile would end up going bad. And now that makes me think, and it makes me realize why it is that some parrot breeders end up pulling the clutches out after the first couple of chicks hatch. And I've heard of this, but I didn't know how important it really was because, to be honest, with finches, they sit pretty tight. You don't have to worry about the majority of the eggs not hatching because usually, even though the first, second, and third chick may hatch in a clutch of 5, the mother will usually sit on top of the rest of the chicks and eggs, incubating everything until the whole entire clutch hatches. But with the parrots, I noticed that it wasn't really the same. After the second egg would hatch or the third egg would hatch, the mom and the father would go outside, and now their focus would be more on finding food and protecting the nest rather than incubating the rest of the eggs. So now that I learned this, I think that for the second clutch, what I'll probably end up doing is once 2 or 3 chicks have hatched, whatever eggs remained inside of that nest, I'm gonna pull out and I'm gonna take them with me to the incubator. And this way, I'll increase my chances at hatching more of these chicks.
As you guys can see, the babies are doing great. There's a lot of them, and it's coming up to that point now where I have to decide what to do. Do I leave them with the parents and let them take care of them? Do I pull them out and hand feed? What do you guys think I should do? Go to the comment section down below and let me know. Either ways, I know for sure I can't keep all of these babies, so I am going to be posting them for sale on the website. If you guys are interested in any of them and you prefer hand-raised babies over wild, I guess it all depends on the person's interest. I mean, if you're going to be breeding them, I guess it's better to have wild ones because they will perform better. They're not going to be attached to a human. But if you want them as a pet, it's always great to hand feed. So there's always that dilemma. Which way do you go? Do you go the hand-fed route or do you let them parent-raised? All right, guys, well, that's it. That's the end of the video. I hope that you've enjoyed finding out what has been going on with the finches. Hopefully you've enjoyed seeing all of the new little baby Quakers and how fast they've been growing. Make sure to subscribe. I think I am going to end up pulling them out of there and hand feeding. I'm not sure yet. Maybe, no, yes, I don't know. But you'll find out in the next video. Bye.